Teams are not in the game, but you will be able to download a team builder of these teams and play as them, and I promise you, there's going to be a ton of people to make one of these teams. Start with the one I'd call the favorite, Wichita State. Wichita State, which is in Wichita, Kansas, had a team from 1897 to 1986. They had a 375, 402, and 47 overall record. They were 0-3 in bowl games, but had 14 conference titles. This team has an incredible color scheme. You can never go wrong with black and yellow, and the logo is elite. I mean, look at these helmets from when they did play. These are incredible. 1905, Wichita State actually participated in the first night football game played west of the Mississippi River. The cool thing about Wichita State, Willie Jeffries became Wichita State's head coach in 1979, and he was the first African-American head coach of a Division I football program. It's up to you to bring this place back. Next, we have the Denver Pioneers. Ooh, I love this one. First season was 1885, and their last season they played before they were discontinued was 1960. I mean, you got to think now, too, being in Denver, this is a great place to have a team in the modern era of college football. Like Wichita State, they were also 0-3 in bowl games all time, and they have 7 conference titles. Think of the rivalries you can get with this team too. Colorado and Colorado State. Their last game was actually played against Colorado State, which was a win. University of Denver also in the modern era has won. University of Denver has 35 team national championships, which is the most of any Division I school outside of the power conferences. Winning is ingrained in the culture at Denver, and you can bring them to wins in the new game. Next, we got Santa Clara. First season was 1896, and their last season was 1992. They had an all-time record of 352, 244, and 28. They won. They had a 3-0 bowl record and 2 conference titles. You also have rivals with Cal and Stanford and another team that we're about to talk about next. During the Buckshaw years in the 30s to early 40s, Santa Clara was great. They had a record of 47, 10, and 4, including 16 consecutive wins. They had an undefeated season in 1937, back-to-back Sugar Bowl wins in 36-37 over heavily favored LSU. Santa Clara is a great choice. And last but not least, their rival, St. Mary's. St. Mary's fielded a team from 1892 to 2003. They had a 380, 295, and 22 overall record, 1-2 record in bowl games, and 4 conference titles. Crazy, they actually had a rivalry with Oregon. Albeit they only played 10 times, but St. Mary's leads 7-3. It was called the Governor's Trophy game. It was a Thanksgiving Day game, too. Due to the Korean War kind of sparked some national controversy and stuff, St. Mary's and this rivalry kind of ended, and so did their football program for a little bit, so that kind of ended that rivalry. And they came back in 1970. They have 2 head coaches in the College Football Hall of Fame. Gonzaga. Last played 83 years ago. They had a team from 1892 to 1941, and they went 134, 99, and 20. They had 1 bowl appearance, which they lost. And they were rivals with Idaho. Basically, World War II ended this program. Like many programs, they took a hiatus, and when they came back, it was just too financially straining. Their Bulldog logo is so great. On the side of a helmet, it'd be so clean. Next, Xavier. The season was 1901, and their last season was 1973. And like many of the teams you see, it was the cost of the sport. They were 302, 222, and 22 all time, so a good winning record. From 1920 to 1935, they had 8 1 or 2 loss seasons. And they actually became known as the Musketeers in the 1925 season. This program won a lot until the late 60s, early 70s. Everything started spiraling downhill, and then the continuous losing, and then the cost of the sport, they were like, we got to cut it. Next, we have the Tampa Spartans. First season was 1933, and their last season was 1974. They had a record of 201, 160, and 12, and were 3-0 in bowl games. Now, they didn't move up into Division I until 1971, so they weren't D1 very long. They were a small school, and they kept continually trying to compete against the bigger dogs, and they just couldn't financially keep taking it. The thing, they were only D1 for a short period of time, but they were competitive against these schools. Wins over schools like Ole Miss, Miami. They won the 1972 Tangerine Bowl, going 10-2. Had a first overall draft pick in 1973. You don't remember, Toledo actually had a 35 straight game win streak in college football. And in 1972, Tampa was actually the team who ended it. They beat them 21-0. At the time, it was the second longest win streak in college football history, and I'm pretty sure right now it's the 3rd longest still. Even though they were good at football, it was just such a small school, they just couldn't afford it, which came as a shock, and the fans did not like it, but it was a program that had a chance. Now you have the chance to bring them back. Next, Pacific. First season was 1895, and their last season was 1995. They had an all-time record of 346, 403, and 24. They had a 3-2-1 bowl record and 7 conference titles. We've already talked about Santa Clara. That's one of their rivals. They even have Fresno State and San Jose State. They played San Jose State a lot. It was called the Battle for the Victor's Bell. San Jose State leads the all-time series 43-23-6. Their uniforms were awesome too. I loved the helmets. Pete Carroll actually played college football here and was a coach here. Well, GA. Long Beach State. 49ers' first season was 1955, and their last season was 1991. They had 199, 183, and 4 overall record, and a tied bowl game. 3 conference titles. Black and gold, can't go wrong with that color scheme, and the vibes around these old photos of this program is just awesome. Remember Terrell Davis? Elite, legendary NFL running back? Well, he was actually here. But then the program disbanded, so then he ended up going to Georgia. Next, Boston U. First season 1884, last season 1997. They had a record of 323, 390, and 34 overall, 0-1 in bowl games, and had 5 conference titles. The early 80s, the BU was dominant. They were D1 AA, but I can't leave out the Terriers. Their logo, I love it so much. Just look at the vibes in this photo, man. The uniforms are fantastic. That helmet, the logo is incredible. The team I'd love to see come back, and their uniforms are awesome. The logo's sick. Red and white goes well together. You just can't go wrong, especially throwing another team up there in the Northeast, having that rivalry with Boston College. Next, Creighton. First season was 1900. Last season was 1942. They had an all-time record of 187, 143, and 28, and 3 conference titles. This would be an awesome team to bring back, especially making a rivalry with Nebraska would be so much fun. And that Blue Jay logo on the side of a helmet would be awesome. Maybe even throw like wings on the side of the helmet like the Eagles. I don't know. Now, I believe Creighton and Nebraska did play once, in which Nebraska won 102-0. Next, Jacksonville. Dolphins' first season was 1988, and their last was 2019, fairly recent ending of a program. They had an all-time record of 118, 115, and they had 2 conference titles. They were FCS. I mean, the logo's awesome. You can't not have fun with the Dolphin mascot.